Hi there, today we're looking at buttonholes and how to make them as neat as possible. Now personally I think one of the neatest buttonholes is quite simply a yarn over and a knit two together. So I'll show you that first, and if you can just use that, I really think it's one of the neatest ones you can work. So let's try one here. Just yarn over like a normal increase that we've done before, and then knit the next two stitches together. You see this sort of buttonhole quite often on children's items because it's quite a neat small buttonhole. I'll just try another one. Yarn over, knit two together. And as I say, I think it's a really neat option, so that's why I wanted to show you this first. The next thing we're going to do, I need to purl back and work a few rows, but I'll explain while I'm going, is I'm going to show you how to do a horizontal button row over two rows, where you cast off on one row and cast on the next. And there is a really neat trick you can do for that that gives you the neatest finish result. So I'll be showing you that. Let's just show you here. When I get back to the yarn over, I just purl it as normal. You don't want to close the hole up because that is actually the buttonhole. Okay, yeah, so cast off on one row, cast on another we're going to be seeing. Here's my two yarn overs. And then after that, we're going to be seeing the situation where you can cast on and off all in one row. I'm just going to work a few rows and then I'll come back to you. So now I've worked a few more rows. I just wanted to get past those yarn overs so that we then don't distort the next buttonhole. But you can now see how nice and neat they are. I think they're really cute, little yarn over buttonholes. So now let's work buttonholes over two rows, and I'm going to do two different buttonholes along this row to show you one which usually gives a few problems to people, and another where there's a neat little trick you can use to stop that problem. So I've knitted three. What I'm going to do is a 3-stitch buttonhole. So I just cast off 3 stitches in the normal way. There's one, there's 2. I try not to do them too tight, and there's the 3rd. Okay, now when we come back on the next row, we will be casting on over those. I'm just going to knit a couple more stitches and do another one. I'll do it here, so cast off 1, 2, 3, and knit to the end. So now let's look at what we do on the return row. So in the first buttonhole, I'm going to do the method that most people know, and it's the method that can give a bit of a nasty little stray yarn, which is why I like to do it the other way, but I'll show you that first. So once you've purled to where you need to cast on, just get the yarn out of the way, you turn, and then using a cable cast on the same number of stitches that you cast off. So we will cast on 3. So there's our first, second, and third cast on stitch. Okay, and then turn and carry on to the next one. And here we are at the next one. So this one I'm going to work slightly differently. I'm still going to cast on 3 stitches. So here's my first one, and I'm using cable cast on again. There's 1, there's 2, and then I'm going to start my 3rd one. There's 3, but before I put it on the needle, on the left needle, I'm going to bring this yarn between my needles and to the front, and then slip that stitch over. Just that simple little change. Now because I'm purling, I now have to bring the yarn back to the front to purl. Now let's have a look at this stage if we can see the difference. We might need to do a few more rows. Yes, let's do at least one more row. Okay, and I think we can see there now what what the issue is. I'll just zoom in slightly for you. So this first one here is where we cast off 3. We cast on 3, but we pulled the yarn between the needle before the last cast on stitch. This one here we cast off 3 and cast on 3, but we just cast on 3 in the normal way, and that produces this stray yarn here, and that's what is a little bit annoying for knitters. You could probably sew it up afterwards, but if you just use that little trick, that's going to change that for you to give you a much neater buttonhole. So I'm now going to work a few more rows and then show you the one row buttonhole. So there we are. I'm now going to show you how to work a one row buttonhole, and I will warn you that I have to follow the instructions for this, otherwise I get it wrong. But it does produce a really neat buttonhole. So the first thing to do is to work to where we're going to start the buttonhole. I'm just going to do 1 on this row. So let's say we're about to start it now. We bring the yarn forward and slip 1 stitch purlwise, and then we take the yarn to the back. Now that yarn stays there now. We slip the next stitch purlwise, we pass this stitch over that slip stitch, and we repeat that twice more if we're doing a 3 stitch buttonhole. Okay, so the important thing is that the yarn has stayed over this side. Now we transfer that slip stitch back to the left needle and we turn the work. We take the yarn to the back and we cast on 4 stitches using the cable cast on method. So that's 1 more stitch than we cast off in this way of doing it. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn the work again and take this yarn to the back again. So there's our 4 cast on. You slip the next stitch on the left needle to the right needle. We slip the last cast on stitch over that slip stitch, and then we carry on knitting. So we need to work the purl row really to see how it looks. So I'll just go ahead and do that. And there we are. That's the buttonhole worked over 2 rows. It's a slightly different appearance from the other one. It's still fairly neat. So I either like to use this one here or this one here. I really don't like that one with the yarn there. But to be honest, my favourite is quite simply yarn over, knit 2 together. And if that's big enough for you, that's what I would do. I suppose the other way of working buttonholes is vertical buttonholes, and that's not really a buttonhole at all. All it is, if I grab a couple of bits of work, is that you would be working. So say these were attached at the bottom here, you'd be working across all of the rows, and then you would split and you'd work a bit that side till you got to your length. You'd work a bit that side, and then you would rejoin and work vertically. So that's a vertical buttonhole. It's a different approach. It's not really a buttonhole. It's just a split in the work, and you do each side separately.